So, guys, Manchester City, you know, as was expected, I think after the season that City had, I think it was safe to say that, they were definitely looking to do a Mazza this season in this transfer window, and to think that Man City have, and what I like about what Man City do, obviously the money is there, but what I like about what Man City do is that when they need to sign players, there's not too much deliberating. They just go and get the player done, and to think that they've got, you know, Ryan ait-nouri, Ryan Cherki, and Tijani Reijnders. Um, for me, that's them favourites for the title now. Definitely favourites for the title. And as I said, I think the way that they've got their business done, and I think the most impressive thing for Man City is the way that they've managed to get them for relatively low prices. We're looking at 34 mil for Ryan Cherki. I think it was about 31 mil, obviously potential add-ons as well for ait-nouri. And then it was about 30 odd million for reijnders. And to be honest with you, I think to get all three of those players, because for me, in their positions, they're three of the best players in Europe in their positions, and they've got them for that price. You know what I mean? It's just mad. It's absolutely mad. And I make them favourites definitely for the title now, to go with what they've got already. I think Liverpool will still have a say in terms of what they're still gonna do. And yeah, I think obviously the Verts one is expected to get over the line. Then you've got obviously Bournemouth have just signed. Bournemouth are in talks now. They've got an agreement for another left back, so that's Kirkes going. And you look at right back, Jeremy Frimpong, obviously there as well. So I think personally, they might be looking at a striker still as well. So I think, yeah, definitely, man, they'll be fancying their chances. Big up all the mods coming in. Big up Sham. Big up Reluctant Gamer. Big up Barbara Joseph as well. Big up guys for all coming through. So yeah, as I said, I think if I look at Man City and how they're going to line up, and this is why I think this Man City team for me is going to be dangerous, because as we know, Josko Gvardiol, centre back, left side centre back or left back. And I think with Gvardiol, I think you're going to see Gvardiol play more as a centre back, and he'll be big up to Daniela as well. And he'll be more as I would say, emergency left back if ait-nouri, they need to rest ait-nouri, or if they need to go probably a bit more defensive, But I look at their team, there's obviously been rumours for them getting a new keeper, but you'd expect Ederson to still be in goal. And then the back four, I think they'll go definitely to a back four this season, with ait-nouri coming in. Or who knows, they could play wing backs, they could play the three at the back and have ait-nouri and then possibly a Matthias Nunes as a right wing back, or Rico Lewis there. But for me, I think they go to a four, and I think they're gonna have ait-nouri as a left back, Gvardiol left side centre back, which gives that balance. And I think, John Stones obviously can't prove his fitness, but I think you're gonna see the likes of Ruben Diaz. You got Manuel Akanji as well, and I would say obviously Kusanov and Vitor Reich. They're still young players that was brought in January, but I think with both of those players, I think with the amount of competitions that City will be in, and again they're in the Club World Championships as well, Club World Cup, so I think they will get some game time there to prove that they've got the quality, to stake a first team place. But I think, the likes of those players, and then the right back, as I said, you got Nunez, you got Rico Lewis. I'm pretty sure that Kusanov can play right back as well. So they've got options there. And then going into midfield, you've got you know, arguably their best player in Rodri, you know, who's been out for the whole season. You got him, and you've got Reijnders in the midfield. And then I think going forwards, this is where it's going to be key for me, you know, because again, having Cherki added to that team, you know, and I think personally how they're going to go, because if for me, you know, you've got Oscar Bob that's come back as well, and Oscar Bob, I don't see Oscar Bob being a regular because obviously he's got to try and get back to full fitness as well and back into the rhythm. But I think with Oscar Bob, I think you're going to see him, Savinho. I think you're going to see him and Savinho battle it out for that right hand side. And then I think for the two number 10 positions, you know, you've got Cherki and Foden, and I think Cherki will be first choice. And then you've got both players that can also play out from the right, you know. So with Pep likes multifunctional players, you know, and you've got that in both Foden and Cherki, who can both play as a 10 and both play from the right. And then you've got someone like Savinho who can play both wings. And on the left, you know, I think this is where it's going to be interesting because, you know, Jack Grealish, obviously, is pretty clear that he's going to be moved on. You know, you've got James McAtee as well, who can play across the front line. And but I think James McAtee, you know, there's been talk about him going to, I think Tottenham might be interested, plus a few other teams. I think he might go on loan probably as well. But then on that left-hand side, you've got the likes of Doku, you know, you've got Marmoush. And I think whether they get another winger ring, you know, is going to be interesting. But I think the two players from that left-hand side, I think you have to say Marmoush will be first choice. And then you've got Doku as probably the backup or the different option. And then obviously up top, you've got Erling Haaland. And then you've got Marmoush, who can play as a striker as well. So they've got very many multifunctional players, you know. And again, you've got Nico O'Reilly. Forgot about him. You know, Nico O'Reilly has shown that he can play left back. He's actually a central midfield player as well, you know. And I think City this season, you know, Pep has already said he wants to work with a smaller squad. But I think that the quality that they've got overall, I think it's going to be scary this season for what they can do. You know, I think you have to fancy them, you know, for being the favourites in the league this season. And I think if you look at Champions League, for me, PSG, you have to put Real Madrid up there, Barcelona, possibly Liverpool as well. I think these will be the teams still to beat, you know. But I think in terms of what City have got this season, yeah, they're gonna be a problem. So we'll go through some of your questions, guys. Big up yourselves. Big up to Kevin S. First time in there, Kevin. Big up yourself. So Kevin says they're going for Livramento when the window reopens. Yeah, I mean, I've heard the Livramento news, but the only problem I think they're gonna have with Livramento is that Newcastle, obviously for FFP reasons, you know, they might think he could be a possibility of being moved on. But what I would say is that Newcastle are not going to sell him, I believe, for anything less than... Oh, sorry, Bernardo Silva as well, another player, multifunctional, yeah? I think with Livramento, Newcastle are not going to sell him for any less than 70 mil. And I don't believe that City pays 70 mil for Livramento. You know, I think if Newcastle said 50 mil, I think 50 mil, they will go in for him 100%, but not for 70 mil. And I think Newcastle will price him out of a move. But they definitely do need a right back to replace Kyle Walker, you know. Because if you've got ait-nouri and then you've got Gavardio can play there, Nico O'Reilly can play there, that left back position now is all sorted. So right back for me, I think if Matthias Nunez, you know, is going to play there, then I would say, you know, that's an option, but they probably need more of a specialist in that position. And I think Livramento would be a great signing for City. But Kevin's saying 60 mil plus add-ons. Yeah, probably. I think if it is 60 mil plus add-ons, Newcastle might be interested in that. But then again, who are Newcastle looking at to replace Livramento? Because Livramento's the replacement for Kieran Trippier. But and they didn't think that they'll be losing Livramento. So yeah, that could be a possibility, but I can definitely see why they want him. They want a specialist in that position, someone that's on the overlap, someone that's got high energy. And again, he's a good option to have in terms of bringing Livramento in, you know. Uh, yeah, Shama, yeah, I can see, yeah, the window gets closed today. If I'm honest with you, can I see much business getting done now? I mean, you got Newcastle obviously in talks for James Trafford, and you can see why they want him. He's someone that for me is going to replace Jordan Pickford. For England in the future. You look at his age as well. Again, another player formerly of Man City. The amount of players that this club just churns out is a joke. And so yeah, I mean, Liverpool will get Kirkes over the line, I believe, today before the end. Verts, I'm not sure. Again, Liverpool need to smash the they need to smash the transfer fee to get him. So they know what's required. But whether that happens now, I mean, I'm not too sure. But they'll definitely be looking at trying to do some business there. So yeah, I mean, at the moment, I mean, the Mike Maignan news. Mike Maignan deal is off reportedly. I think AC Milan are asking for too much money. And I think with him being in the last year of his contract, Chelsea are looking at between what 8 and 12 mil. I think if Chelsea really wanted him, then they would just say, take 15 mil with add-ons or something like that, which equates it to 20, and I think you get him. But yeah, obviously Chelsea have their own ideas, but I think he'd be a great addition, man, if they was to get him in. And the fact that they seem like they're not really that interested, is a bit of a surprise. But I think definitely, man, they should try and revisit that deal, man, because I think he'd make a massive change to their backline as a whole in terms of giving that defense confidence. Also, yeah, Joe Bellingham's brother, going to Borussia Dortmund. I think there was no surprise there, following in the footsteps of his brother, and he'll be looking at his career path, going the same way. To be honest with you, I thought it was a bit surprising that he didn't stay at Sunderland. The fact that they got back into the Premiership, you would have thought he would have at least wanted to try his hand in the Premiership. But I think him going to Borussia Dortmund, I think, again, he might even be looking at it as a way of him possibly getting an England call up as well, I would say. Because, obviously going to a different league abroad, getting that exposure. These players now, they look at that opportunity as a shop window. And again, if you're a player that's playing abroad, if you're someone that's playing abroad, you're more than likely going to get called up as well for international honours, because especially if you're playing in a league or at a club that is in Champions League. And again, Dortmund will be in Champions League, so you'll have more views on him. Obviously, you've got the likes of Bellingham, his brother at Real Madrid, Harry Kane at Bayern Munich, so they're playing for some of the biggest clubs in the world. So that again will be something he's probably looking at, Joe Bellingham. But he's gone there for 32 mil, so that's the highest transfer fee Sunderland have received for a player. And obviously he's 27 mil, I think, with add-ons as well. So yeah, it's a decent deal. Well, it's a very good deal for Sunderland. And again, he's following in the footsteps of his brother. So you have to see how he's gonna do out there, Kevin S says, ait-nouri, reijnders, and a future Ballon d'Or winner, City are cooking, and it's not books. Yeah, listen, 100%, Kevin, man. As I said, and the guys that have watched me through, obviously that have been watching me for a while, I said as soon as they got ait-nouri, reijnders, and Cherki, I said that they're the favourites for the title, definitely, because I thought the sign of Florian Wirtz, Frimpong coming in, I'd said, I'll make Liverpool favourites. For me, they've just topped it with those 3 signings, because you're getting 3 players that will come in and start straight away, and they should do as well. You know, ait-nouri definitely comes in and starts at left back. Definitely reijnders in the midfield. And Cherki, I know there's a lot of options there, but Cherki for me has to start as well. So yeah, man, it's great business for Man City. And to think that Man City, as I said, have got all 3 of those players for about 30 plus mil. I mean, only Man City can do that, man. It's crazy business. But you have to respect it, man. Definitely. Big up Sham. Sham says, in regards to wrapping up transfers so quick, the likes of Chelsea and City were bound to, so they can register them for the Club World Cup. Yeah, I agree. I mean, if I'm honest with you, I'm a bit surprised at Chelsea. You know, I think the news today, you know, the deal's off for Mike Maignan, and I think the Bino Gittins one, I don't know if the Bino Gittins one gets done before the Club World Cup, if I'm honest. You know, obviously got Liam Delap in, but whether they can, I think Chelsea will come in with another bid for Bino Gittins, but it's going to have to be a bid, I believe, in excess of probably 35 mil. And I think if that's the case, they'll get him. You know, again, I'm surprised and I'm not that they're going for Bino Gittins, because if you look at what Chelsea are doing, they're just getting a lot of the, you know, former City Academy players. You know, the likes of Cole Palmer, Adebayo, Liam Delap, Bino Gittins now. Sancho was there on loan. Romeo Lavia. You know, so they're getting all the former City players, and to be fair, yeah, they're gonna be a force in the future, man. And you can't really look at Chelsea and say they're not doing a good job, because they're just putting players together, and their spending is going to continue as well. So yeah, as I said, man, they're not messing around this season for sure. You know, but yeah, 100%. So Nico O'Reilly went to school with my son. Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah, listen, Nico O'Reilly, man, he's a very good player, Nico O'Reilly. He's, as I said, he's a midfielder by trade, you know, but very adaptable, can play at left back, you know, and again, he's given Pep, you know, food for thought, really, because Pep probably would have been looking at, you know, getting in, you know, possibly, you know, another couple of defenders or midfielders. But I think the emergence of O'Reilly, that can play left back and centre midfield, you know, he's probably saving himself on one position. I think ait-nouri was a definite to come in. And I did say, you know, I just couldn't believe City weren't looking at an ait-nouri, because ait-nouri is just perfect for that system that City wants to play. And again, ait-nouri is someone that offers another dimension for the team. So the fact that ait-nouri is coming in, you know, it means that O'Reilly won't have to play left back as much. And as I said, I think it's one of them things where, you know, he's going to be a versatile option. And again, City going to have plenty of games to play, you know, and Pep's already said he wants to work with a smaller squad as well. But I think in this instance, the 3 players that he's got in, you know, I think that's great business. And I think personally, I don't see them doing any more business unless, you know, I think the only player that they're actually going to go for, I would say, will be either a right back or left winger. But I think a right back, what they probably need, because I don't think Rico Lewis, I don't think he's good enough long term. You know, I think when he came through, there was a lot of promise about him, and Rico Lewis is a good footballer, but I don't think he's the long term solution. I think he'd be more someone that's homegrown, part of the squad, but not someone that's going to hold down a regular place the way it seems, I would say, you know. And again, Matthias Nunes is very similar to Nico O'Reilly in the sense that Matthias Nunes is a centre midfielder by trade, but has shown he can play at right back. So I think Pep likes that kind of profile of player. Players that are multifunctional, players that can play centre mid and fullback, you know, players that can play centre back and fullback as well. You know, so again, it's just another string to his bow, man. And yeah, I think those 3 signings for me are gonna make them the favourites for sure. You know, 100%. City were interested in Trafford as they have a sell-on clause. Yeah, but they're not gonna bring Trafford back. Obviously, they got rid of him in the first place, and City don't really do that. They don't really. Guys, bear me 1 minute, guys. Bear me 1 minute.
All right.
I mean, nothing. Cool. Postman always comes at the wrong time. Big up, guys. So yeah, I think with Trafford, I think they'll be more interested in the sell-on clause, and I think personally, you know, they could make a bit of money from him, because I think if Newcastle want him, and Newcastle have been rumoured to want him for a little while, I think I reckon Newcastle could probably get him for 30 mil. You know, so, and that'd be some good money for City coming in as well. You know, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So Cherki was cheaper than Job. Well, I think. Well, the thing is, in terms of how much the deal is going to cost Borussia Dortmund, it's 32 million, which is obviously potential add-ons. I think Cherki's one is 34 million, so I think Cherki's one's slightly higher. So I think Cherki's one's 34 mil. So, but yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't see them signing Joe Benham for that much, but it's obviously because of who his brother is. You know what I mean? And I think definitely. Yeah, that's a great deal for Sunderland. But he's not cheaper than Cherki. He's not more expensive than Cherki. Cherki's one 34. Joe Bellingham's one was 32. So City have been tracking ait-nouri since he played in France. Oh, what, when he was at Angers? Yeah, because I think at Angers he was tracked also by United and a few other clubs, you know, and obviously Wolves were the team that got him. And yeah, as I said, man, I think he's a no-brainer, man. Why Man United weren't in for ait-nouri makes no sense. To think that City got him for 30 odd million, and you mean to tell me United couldn't put a 30 million bid for ait-nouri? And again, you got ait-nouri that's been playing with Cunha, who's just come, and you mean to tell me United couldn't even make a bid of 30 million for ait-nouri? Yeah, doesn't make any sense to me, you know? Don't make any sense. But I think, yeah, definitely, man, this transfer window has been it's been dominated by City. You know, obviously Liverpool getting Frimpong. Kirkes will be coming in now. I think he's due his medical soon. And then obviously Florian Wirtz, which is still to be wrapped up. You know, you look at Chelsea, I mentioned already with the lap. You've obviously got yeah, no, it wasn't Amazon, man. It was Every. But big up, man. So yeah, I think you look at the lap. Obviously, they're interested in Bino Gittins, and then you look at what other deals they're gonna do. You know, Arsenal. You know, obviously Sesko. I think they're gonna get that over the line. And again, guys, I'm surprised they're signing Sesko, man, because as we all know, Sesko is not what they need. You know, they need a proven goal getter. You know, and there's players out there, but Arsenal just don't do what's required, man. And them getting Sesko, I mean, Sesko's not going to close the 10-point gap that they had to Liverpool in the league. So I don't really know where they're going with this Sesko. But obviously, Arteta's going to have his plans, and I think it's safe to say this will be his last season for sure. I was saying that 2 seasons ago. But I think for sure this will be his last season if he doesn't get any silverware over the line, you know, for me. But Man United, again, you know, things are looking exciting for United. Obviously, Cunha's coming in. Obviously, the rumours of Mbeumo and Gyökeres. And again, Gyökeres wasn't my first choice, you know. Mbeumo, for me, I didn't really think United could get Mbeumo. I didn't think he was in the list. But if United could get both of those players, you know, then it's going to be positive, you know what I mean? But for me, I want United to just get rid of players first, you know. They've got to get rid of Garnacho, Højlund. You know, I was annoyed that Bruno didn't go. But Garnacho and Højlund, for me, first and foremost, have to go. Mason Mount, for me, as well, even though he'll be a hard sell because of the money he's on. You know, the likes of him and Luke Shaw have to just be out of this club. Marcus Rashford, you know, is there going to be bids coming in for him? Jadon Sancho, you know, no, I don't care what anyone says. Sancho for me, I will definitely keep Sancho, you know, and guys as well. I mean, if you guys are on Twitter, I done a team selection, you know, on Twitter. I think it was yesterday, and based on the players that United have now, and you know the incoming of certain of some players, Man United by just changing this formation, yeah. So if they played a 4-2-3-1, which is the formation that I like, you know, or 4-3-3. So a 4-2-3-1. Again, you've got Onana, or you can get a new keeper in there. Now the four defenders, you know, you could play Patrick Dorgu left back, you know, Mazraoui right back, or if you go in for a Teo Hernandez who's available at left back. Matthias de Ligt and Lenny Yoro, the centre-backs, and you've got Aiden Heaven as well that can back that up. Then in midfield, Carlos Baleba for me should be the main target. He should be number one target, Carlos Baleba, in the midfield with Douglas Luiz. You know, what a midfield that would be. You know, that midfield there has everything for me. Press resistance, you know, good on the ball, composed, you know, tenacious, good in the tackle, creative, set piece specialist in Douglas Luiz. Can take corners as well, you know, and then you know, he can pass the ball as well, and so can Baleba. And then you've got Matthias Cunha in the 10, Sancho on the left, Brian Mbeumo on the right, Joshua Zirkzee up top, and then you've got the likes of Ahmad, you know, that comes into the equation. Kobe can play in the one of the two in midfield or in the 10. You know, there's options there. Cunha can play from the left. Sancho can go on both sides. So just by changing this formation, you know, you can see the team that United could have. And that's just with some of the players that are there already. Not even mentioning the likes of a Teo Hernandez or an Mbeumo at the moment. That's just with the players they've got. But the problem is, this man just obviously, as I say, is hell-bent on playing certain players. But for me, it should definitely be something that needs to be looked at once this manager gets sacked. Because I don't believe this manager stays there for the long term, you know. But so Kevin S says City received 10 million as part of the Lap and Gittins transfers. Yeah, listen, City are just yeah, man, they got everything patterned, man. It's an absolute joke, man, how they just keep getting money after not doing much. Because their youth academy, as we know, you know, is arguably the best youth academy in the world, you would say. You know, and the way they just churn out players, man, and then sell them on to the Premiership, and you know they got the sell-on clauses as well, is mad. Sham says Arsenal have been linked to Zubi for the last 4 weeks because of the delay. Wrapping that up, watch Real Madrid swoop in. But yeah, I mean, Zubimendi's already said, you know, his idol is Xabi Alonso, who's now a manager, obviously, at Real Madrid. And if anyone doesn't know, Xabi Alonso is a former Real Sociedad player. So you can see why Zubimendi, that's his idol. You can see why that is. So the fact that he's come out and said that Xabi Alonso is his idol, it's obvious what's happening. He's waiting for Real Madrid to come in. The only problem I think that is that because Real Madrid are stacked in midfield, they might not be looking at midfield as a priority. But what I would say is that if they was to move on, you know, let's say a Chouameni, then Zubimendi, you know, will slot right in there. But again, I believe if Real Madrid make it known to Zubimendi that they want him, he's not going to Arsenal. That's a fact. But he's got a release clause there of 51 mil, which we heard was triggered. But let's be honest with you, man. All Real Madrid need to do is firm up their interest in Zubimendi, and he's going to go there because it's obvious he wants to go there. I think he's looking at Arsenal as a last resort because I reckon he'll probably more prefer staying at Real Sociedad than having to move to Arsenal if it means him, you know, potentially waiting for a move from Real Madrid, you know. So yeah, I reckon there's going to be twists and turns in that one there because I think he's waiting for Real Madrid. But whether Real Madrid come in for him or not, Who knows? Kevin says Embuemo's asking for too much. What, in terms of wages? I think the whole rumored 250, that wasn't true, you know, and I think Embuemo's asked for about 160, 165 from what I've heard last time. So the whole 250 isn't true. But if I'm Embuemo and I'm looking at the likes that Mason Mounts on 250, why can't Embuemo ask for 250? Because Mason Mounts on that, you know, so I can't really blame him, if I'm honest. You know. So Sham says, just saw a notification from Big Six Bants. Their header for the stream is Zubimendi to Arsenal. Confirmed. Okay. Well, maybe that's been confirmed within the last hour, probably. But I've not seen that. And as I said, if he does go to Arsenal, then fair enough. But everyone knows he's waiting for Real Madrid. It's obvious, you know. Big up to DXR. Big up, bro. Big up for coming on. So DXR says Chat GPT is down, feeling mad lost, and I use it for work. Haha. Do you know what, DXR? That's actually mad because yeah, mine was down today as well. So I've been on emails the whole day trying to sort out the problem. So so yeah, man, I can feel your pain, man, because I was going through the same thing. But yeah, big up yourself, man. Kevin says, hearing news on Chevalier joining United. Oh, yeah, Lucas Chevalier from Lille. I mean, I heard there's some interest in him. Whether United made that a possibility, I'm not too sure. But to be fair, the reason why I like Chevalier is that because he's a left-footed goalkeeper. You know, I like left-footed goalkeepers. You know, you got likes of Thibaut Courtois. Who else is out there? Mama Dashvili, I think, is left-footed as well. I mean, I'm not going to mention Pickford, man. Forget Jordan Pickford. But yeah, I like left-footed keepers, and Chevalier's left-footed. So if United are linked to him, then I'm happy with that. But again, he's French as well, so he'll be trying to stake his claim to be number one. Obviously, Mike Maignan number one, but he's in the squad, Chevalier, and if he goes to a bigger club, you know, that will push him in the direction of trying to compete for that number one spot, for sure. Sham says, Barcelona La Masia have the best academy in the world. You know the academy is class because once they graduate, they stay in the first team, whereas City graduates get sold. Yeah, listen, if we're talking in Europe, yeah, you'd have to say Barca and Man City. I think with Barcelona, as we know, you know, you look at Barcelona's squad right now from La Masia. You know, you got Pau Kabasi, you got Alejandro Balde, Gavi, Fermin Lopez, obviously Yamal, Ansu Fati. You know, you got Mark Bernal and Casado, the two young ones that are out injured. Yeah, man, this club, they just Hector Font as well at right back. This club just churn out player after player. You know, I think in terms of City's the best at, you know, getting money from their academy graduates. You know, and as I said, yeah, and as I said, man, yeah, them and City definitely for sure, and Chelsea as well. Big up to Kev S, new subscriber. Yeah, big up Kev, man. Big up for coming on, man. Some great comments in the chat, man. And make sure you're back on again, man. Big up yourself. So yeah, DXR says City fully dominated the window. Verts rejected them and they moved on to Cherki quick. Yeah, DXR. I don't believe Florian Wirtz didn't reject City. He didn't. City just weren't willing to pay the money that Leverkusen wanted. You know, and as we know with City, City don't apart from Jack Grealish of 100 million, City don't pay mad prices for their players. I mean, look at how much they've got Cherki, Reijnders, and ait-nouri for. You know, we're talking less than 150 for those three players. So I'm trying to tell you, man, this club, they just get, you know, they just get deals going. So as we can see, Liverpool having problem trying to agree to deal with Wirtz because, and rightly so, Leverkusen are losing their best player, so they're going to want a British transfer record fee for their best player. Again, someone that's only 22 years of age and is regarded as one of the best players in the world. So you can see why Bayer Leverkusen aren't going to want to let him go cheaply. And that's why City pulled out the deal. Because I believe if it was a race between City and Liverpool at a lower price, I think he goes City. Because again, he's primed for City to go to. You know, they've got a major hole there now. But obviously Cherki's there now. So them not going in for Wirtz and getting Cherki, you know, it's not a bad replacement, you know, because Wirtz is obviously ahead of Cherki at the moment in his development, but Cherki for me is a future, you know, Ballon d'Or contender for sure, you know. So yeah, and to get him for 34 mil with add-ons, that's a steal of the century, man. I have to say, because a player of that quality, you shouldn't be getting for 34 mil. You know, it's an absolute steal. But as I said, man, City just do some good deals. No, he didn't reject them, bro. No, he didn't reject them, man. They just didn't want to pay the money, which is why Liverpool are the only team in for him. And then people are gonna say it's only Liverpool that he wants to go to. It's only Liverpool that are willing to put the money down, because Barca, he's a Barca type player. They can't afford that money that Leverkusen would want. You know, Bayern Munich, they couldn't afford it. And again, it's a case where, as I mentioned before, you know, him and Musiala are in the same team. I don't know if that's going to work. You know, I think they'd been better off. He'd been better off going somewhere else, you know, where he can be the star man as a creator. You know, Real Madrid, they're stacked in midfield, so you know, for me, it wouldn't be a good career choice. And again, Man City pulled out because of the price, and all the other teams can't afford him. You know, Chelsea don't need him. They've got Cole Palmer there. William Esteval coming in as well. And for the price that Leverkusen would want, you know. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, you know, if you've got the money, you can spend it on Florian Wirtz, man. It's a no-brainer. But in regards to what he's actually going to cost, there's only a few teams really that can kind of compete. And the fact that Liverpool, you know, have gotten Trent's wages off the books, you know, they haven't really spent any money. They didn't spend any money last season. They've won the league. They're gonna have money to play play around with. So, as I said, you know, there's money for them. There's money for them to spend, man. So that's why he's going Liverpool. But yeah, man. As I said, I would love to be in Liverpool's shoes right now, having the possibility of Florian Wirtz coming to Anfield. You know, definitely. Read somewhere Everton trying to get him. Yeah, well, listen, they're moving to their new stadium, so you know I can see Everton trying to compete. You know, top 10 Europe. I think that'll be their targets to start with. You know, because they're moving to their new stadium. You know, more capacity, which means more money. So you never know. Everton could be going, you know, in a good direction now, but we'll have to wait and see. What's happening with Grealish? So reports today are saying that Bayer Leverkusen, Erik ten Hag, is hot on the heels of Jack Grealish. For me, that's not a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer because Florian Wirtz is going on, and someone like Grealish, the way he plays, you know, he's an automatic replacement for Florian Wirtz. You know, the number 10 shirt will be free. Grealish wears 10, so it's a no-brainer really. My only reservations for Grealish is that why would he want to go and play for Ten Hag? Because you see what a catastrophe Ten Hag was at Man United. So for me, it's a no-brainer that you know that Grealish is being linked to Leverkusen. Whether he goes there or not, I'm not too sure. If I'm Grealish, you know, I'm holding out for a. I mean, I don't know why Grealish don't go to a Tottenham. You know, you got Tottenham, you've got. Trying to think who was finished. I mean, Newcastle. You know, I know Newcastle got players there already, but Newcastle will be good move for him. You know, he's in the northeast already, so not too far. So yeah, as I said, man, I don't really know why those clubs ain't coming in for him because he's a top player. I think the massive stumbling block again is Grealish's wages. You know, I think he's on like 300 grand a week. So that's going to be the stumbling block for him going to other clubs. But yeah, Leverkusen are interested in him. What's been reported today. Gav, just wondering, with all the investment Real Madrid has made on new players and Xabi Alonso, I'm expecting minimum La Liga, Copa del Rey at least. Yeah, bro, listen, I think the standards of Real Madrid, you know, they'll be expecting La Liga, Copa del Rey, and the Champions League. That's just the standard of their club. And this is why I rate Real Madrid, because as much as like it's a lot of chopping and changing with players, with managers, they keep the standards very high. And a lot of clubs can go a long way in adopting that same approach for me, you know. And again, yeah, Real Madrid, new manager. If Xabi Alonso hasn't got them in a title race, you know, by Christmas, and if they're not, you know, doing a good job in the Champions League, he'll be under pressure. You know, I reckon Xabi Alonso has probably got 2 seasons to prove himself, regardless of him being an ex-player or not, because that's the standards of the club, and this is why they, you know, clubs like Real Madrid remain at the top. But the problem that I think that, and I've mentioned this already, if you look at Real Madrid, I'm going to be very interested to see how they're going to line up, because is Xabi Alonso going to play the way he played at Bayer Leverkusen with the 3 at the back? And if that's the case, there's going to be a few players that are going to be left out, in my opinion, because if we look at their team now and the players that start, Mbappe, Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo, Bellingham, Valverde, you know, you'd hope Camavinga as well, starting Tchouaméni, whoever. Someone's going to miss out, because that 3 at the back system means you've only got 2 central midfielders. And for that system, the ideal profiles for that central midfield would be Valverde and Camavinga, or a Tchouaméni Camavinga for the balance. Which means that if he's going to try and shoehorn Bellingham into this team, you're going to have to play Bellingham as one of the front 3. But that just means Bellingham will have to play on the right side of a 3, because Vinny and Mbappe are both going to play. But then you got Arda Güler, who's left-footed, and if you're looking at and Yassin Adli, that played under Xabi Alonso at Leverkusen, he was left-footed, playing as part of a fluid front 3. So Arda Güler would be, you know, ideal for that position. Not to mention Rodrigo. So if he goes to 3 at the back, you know, because I don't believe he drops Bellingham into a 2 in midfield, because Bellingham's too attacking for that, and he won't keep his discipline. So for me, if he goes to a 3 at the back, someone's going to miss out. It's going to be a big player. And let's say, for instance, he tries to shoehorn Bellingham in, which means Rodrigo misses out. I think Rodrigo will be on the move. So I think between Rodrigo, Bellingham, and Arda Güler, I believe if he changes to a 3 at the back, one of those players are leaving, because you can't fit in all 3 of those players into the lineup, because something's got to give, you know. So that's what I'll be looking at to see what he does, man. But 100% they'll be demanding Champions League, Copa del Rey, and La Liga, because to think that, you know, Real Madrid went through this whole season, you know, not winning a trophy, you know, it's unheard of, really. And as I said, I think Xabi Alonso's got till Christmas to show what he's doing with his team, you know. Yeah, listen, it will be a major question mark, but for me, I think there's question marks on his team already anyway, because they the balance of their team is just not there, and it's gonna be very much evident when they play against the better teams. So until and I believe that Xabi Alonso will address the balance, and this is why I'm saying I can see him playing a 3 at the back, you know, because if you look at their centre backs, you know, you've got Rudiger, Militao, obviously, who's been out injured. They just signed Dean Howson, you know, who you think will play for 50 million. Young Raul Asensio as well. David Alaba, who can't stay fit. So I believe, you know, with that with the system that he played at Leverkusen, that was fluid. I think you're going to see 3 at the back, because they've got players there that are right wing backs that can play right wing back, left back, right back. And I think that, you know, Trent's coming in as well. You know, Trent can play as a wing back or can play as a right back. Danny Carvajal will be coming back from injury. You know, the same. He can play wing back or right back. Ferland Mendy, Alvaro Fernandez, you know, coming in. Both players can play full back or wing back. So I think Xabi Alonso goes to a three at the back. You know, you've heard it here first. I'll be very surprised if he doesn't. That's what I will say. And how he's going to fit those players in, something's got to give. And I believe, as I said, either Rodrigo, Arda Güler, or Bellingham are going to miss out. You know, so yeah, but we'll have to wait and see, man. So Sham says, Cherki was known to be sold cheap. He was linked around in Jan transfer window for around 25. Ait-Nouri coming from Wolves was never going to go for more than 40. So yeah, ait-Nouri's gone for 31 mil, which obviously includes potential add-ons as well. Cherki's gone for 34 mil, which is potential add-ons as well. So, and Reijnders, I think, was 37.3. So again, they've signed 3 of the best players in Europe in their positions. As I said, for under 150, you know, and in any normal market, you would say, or any other club, you know what I mean? You're spending at least 30, you're spending at least 40 to 50 mil on those players. So the fact that City have got them for under 150 is absolutely madness. But as I said, man, only City can do that. So Sham says, the only one I'm shocked about is the price for Reijnders for 46 mil, which is a bargain for the player he is. You know, no, Reijnders didn't cost 46 mil. He cost 37.3. Whether that's add-ons, that adds up to 46 mil, but I mean, from what I saw, it was 37.3. But yeah, listen, if anyone hasn't watched Tijani Reijnders is one of the best midfielders in the world. He is. And the funny thing is that people that don't watch Reijnders will tell you that Declan Rice is better than Reijnders because Declan Rice plays in the Premiership and he scored 2 free kicks in the Champions League. But Declan Rice ain't better than Reijnders. He's not. So watch out for the press in this country when Reijnders touches down because, you know, they're gonna be. I mean, I think I told you guys before. I had to listen to Danny Murphy talking nonsense, saying that. On Sky Sports, saying he can't understand why City have forked out that much on Reijnders. And again, Danny Murphy's never watched Reijnders because if you watch Reijnders, you wouldn't make that stupid assumption. Because, as I said, Danny Murphy will tell you that Declan Rice is better than Reijnders. But if you've watched Reijnders, you know that Declan Rice ain't better than Reijnders. So, yeah. But he didn't cost 46. I think it's 37.3. Whether that's including add-ons, I'm not too sure, but it was definitely 37.3 up front, I think it was. DXR says, I saw comments on Real Madrid's page. The supporters already asking for Nuno Mendes. Those fans are too entitled, man. Listen, you know what makes me laugh about that, DXR, yeah? That just shows the standards of the club, yeah? They're not getting Nuno Mendes. They're not getting him. PSG don't need the money, for one. And if you're going to try and buy Nuno Mendes, you know, and again, this is where scouting comes into it, yeah, because Nuno Mendes was on the radar for time at Sporting Lisbon. You know, he was doing madness there. And this is where scouting comes into it. And if PSG was to ever sell Nuno Mendes to Real Madrid, you're looking at you know, the most expensive fullback in history. That's how much they'll sell him for. I'm talking about 150. So basically they ain't gonna sell him in a sense, you know. And again, to think that Real Madrid had Hakimi as well, you know, before they let him go out on loan to Dortmund and to Inter Milan, and now obviously he's at PSG. But yeah, they had Hakimi, and now they're trying to chase Nuno Mendes. But they're not getting Nuno Mendes. Like that's a non-story, man. But you can't blame their vision and their want to be the best, because Man United were linked to Nuno Mendes, which was never going to happen. But yeah, you can see why, man. He's the best left back in the world, you know, for me by far. Yeah, great. He's a very good player, man. Bro, I just saw Joe Benham has joined BVB. I am late. Yeah, listen, yeah, he joined for 32 mil. Again, great deal for Sunderland. Obviously, Bellingham following in the footsteps of his brother, hoping he can emulate obviously the moves that he's done in terms of from Dortmund to Real Madrid. But 32 mil for Joe Bellingham from a player that's just come up from the Championship, I think that's too much. I know it's obviously including add-ons, but yeah, it's a bit too much for me, man. Definitely. But as I said, his brother, obviously because of his name in football, has got him that move, you would say, really. Let's be honest. Because if his name wasn't Bellingham and it was Smith, you know, he's probably not going to Dortmund. Let's be honest. PSG don't need to sell. Mendes signed a new contract in Feb. Yeah, listen, you're not getting Mendes. Real Madrid ain't getting Mendes. Like, that's a non-story, man. They just signed Alvaro. They're signing Alvaro Fernandez anyway. So Mendes is going to be at PSG for, you would expect, for the majority of his career. Yeah, he's what now? He's 2022. I expect him to be there unless he hands in a transfer request. I expect him to be there till he's about 28, 29. I mean, yeah, that's what I believe, but who knows? Big up to Nihal as well. Nihal says the three greatest clubs in history are Madrid, man. Are Madrid, Man United, and Bayern. Is there any debate on this? I would say Madrid, Man United, and Barcelona. I would say, yeah, Madrid, Man United, and Barcelona. But again, if we're talking about the three greatest clubs in the history, it depends what you're basing this on. Because if you're basing it on trophies, then I hear it. If you're basing it on quality of players or whatever it may be, yeah. But for me, Real Madrid definitely, Man United have to be for history, and then Barcelona has to be there for me as well. If we're talking about now, who's the best three teams in the world right now? PSG. I know people will say Inter, but Inter's not for me. I mean, they got to a final, but that was more due to the manager, the way he sets up his team. But the three best teams in the world for me right now are PSG, Barcelona, and I think it's a toss-up between Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Liverpool. I would say as being the third, you know. But obviously, this season, Man City will come back into that reckoning, you would think. Maybe a few other clubs as well, you know. But, yeah. So, Sham says, the Dortmund have been tracking Job for a little while now, mainly because he's Jude's brother. It's for future investment for profit. If he does well, you know, a top 6 Premier League team will end up buying him. Yeah, listen, man. He's as I just said, you know, he's going to Dortmund because obviously because of who his brother is. Let's be honest. Because if his last name wasn't Bellingham and it was Smith, he's not going to Dortmund. So yeah, they're just invested in what he could become in terms of how the path that his brother's trodden, really. And they're thinking that he can do the same thing. So that's why they've invested in him. And to be honest with you, I actually think Joe Bellingham is a better footballer than his brother, Jude. He's a better footballer than him. So, but I do think 32 mil is a lot of money. But who knows? Who knows what they've got in store? Niall says, we need to get Nuno Mendes or Alphonso Davies right now. Again, two players that have just signed new contracts for their club in Bayern Munich and PSG, respectively. So you're not getting either one of them. That's why they're bringing in Alvaro Fernandez. I mean, the only player that they could have got, really, before he went to Man City was ait-nouri. You know, you got Kirkes, who's going Liverpool. Teo Hernandez. I don't know why Real Madrid didn't go for Teo Hernandez. I mean, I know Teo Hernandez is formerly of Atletico Madrid, and obviously it might be a case of, you know, why he didn't want to go there for rivalry reasons. But for me, Teo Hernandez was rumored to be going to Al Hilal, and it's looking like that deal's fallen through. But I don't know why they haven't gone for Teo Hernandez. I don't know why Man United haven't gone for Teo Hernandez. So yeah, but who knows, man? Who knows? But yeah, you're not getting Nuno Mendes or Davies. That's a long shot. So man, I don't want to see a Mbappe situation again. DXR, what situation is that with Mbappe? Sham says, I believe the reijnders figure I quoted is the overall cost. Okay, yeah, so that might be potential add-ons in terms of if City win the league, you know, how well they do in Champions League. But definitely from what was agreed, it was 37.3. The 46 million is definitely add-ons, but I didn't see that anywhere. So yeah, who knows, man? But it's still cheap to get him for that price, regardless. It's actually mad annoying how Real Madrid get all these players. Yeah, but it's the pull of Real Madrid, man. If you look at every South American player, majority of South American players, their ideal teams to play for is Real Madrid, Barcelona. There's no surprise in how Barcelona have had so many South American players. You look at the likes of, from the past, Javier Saviola, Rivaldo, Romario, you know, Alexis Sanchez, Neymar, Suarez. Obviously, Messi come through the youth. Even Paulinho. Remember Paulinho, ex-Tottenham player? You know, Ronald Arroyo. I'm trying to think. Dani Alves. You know, they get a lot of South American players, Barcelona. And the same with Real Madrid. You know, look at R9. You know, you look at Julio Baptista. You know, Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo. You know, Eder Militao. Federico Valverde. Endrick. You know, I think there's more as well. Roberto Carlos. You know what I mean? These two teams just get the best that South America has to offer. You know, which is why it was a shock that William Esteval didn't get snapped up. But Chelsea moved in quickly for him, you know. But yeah, they just take the best South American players. And the South American players' dreams are to play for Barca Madrid. So that's why they've it's the football heritage, of course, but it's just the these guys, these South American players, you know, that's their mission statement, to go and play for Madrid or Barcelona, you know, and it's never going to stop. So that's why these guys have the pull more than any other clubs. So Sham says, but you need to quote the total. If Wirtz comes to Liverpool, I believe the set fee will be 100 million and the rest will be add-ons, but people will only quote the total package for him. Oh, Sham, you know what? Yeah, I disagree with that. And I'll tell you why I disagree with that. Yeah. So Moises Caicedo at this moment in time is the highest transfer fee that's been paid by a British transfer record. For me, if Wirtz goes to Liverpool, he's going to break that. Because you have to look at Wirtz, as I said, is 22 years of age. And he's the crown jewel, along with Musiala, of German football. And not to forget that he's leaving German football to go and play in a different league, in a foreign league. Yeah. So Bayer Leverkusen, just based on all those things, they've lost their manager, they've lost their starting right wing back. They've lost their captain in Jonathan Tah to their rivals, and they're going to lose their best player. So the thing is, they're only going to sell their best player, Florian Wirtz, for a British transfer record. So for me, I believe it's the starting fee is going to be the fee that's going to eclipse what Chelsea paid for Caicedo. So what Chelsea paid, what was it, 115 for Caicedo? I believe you're going to look at possibly 120 for Florian Wirtz and then add-ons. And I think that could get it over the line. But definitely, it's not going to be 100 million. No way would it be 100 million. It's definitely going to be 120 and then the rest in add-ons for Florian Wirtz. Definitely for me. So just saw your comment about Mendes and Davies. Both have signed new contracts for their respective clubs. So keep wishing. Yeah, listen, I spoke about that already. So yeah, you're not getting Mendes or Davies. That's a non-star story, man. As I said, that's why you're going in for Alvaro Fernandez, and hoping he can be their version of Mendes or Davies. You know. Yeah, listen, Alexis Sanchez was a great player, man. I liked Alexis Sanchez when he's at Barcelona. You know, for me at Barcelona, he was frightening, and then going to Arsenal, you know, he took it to another level. But yeah, he was a great player, man. When he come to United, though, he was finished, and the Alexis Sanchez that I saw at Man United was nowhere near the same player. You know, but it's a shame, man, because I was a massive fan of Sanchez. What pissed me off about when Sanchez come to Man United is that Mourinho brought him in and he directly replaced Martial, which pissed me off because Martial was keeping Mourinho in the job and was United's best performer and best player as well. And what he done, because Mourinho didn't like Martial, he just brought in Sanchez, and which meant that Martial went to the bench. I'll never forget them times when Mourinho done that, you know. And that seems like that seems like just yesterday, but that was a few seasons back now, yeah. But yeah, he was a great player, man, to be fair. He's still lethal on FIFA career mode. Yeah, but you know what it is with Sanchez? Sanchez had that change of pace. And I think he has what a lot of these, well, I think the majority of South Americans have, and that's that hunger and grit, you know, to go with talent. I think out of South America, they just produce that because, as many of you should know, you know, you're getting players that are coming from the favelas. They're coming from hardship. So they've got that natural grit and determination in them anyway. And then when you've got the quality, the technical ability, you know, you can't fail really if you've got that hunger and that ability. And all of their players have that, man. So, so DXR says, in this time, I think Sanchez dominates. Listen, if Alexis Sanchez was in his peak right now, if Alexis Sanchez was at his peak, like I'm talking about Arsenal form, playing right now, he's a Ballon d'Or contender. Easy. And again, that's like, and that's nothing on Alexis Sanchez, but that's the standard of football now, you know, because again, there are exceptions to the rules, the likes of Lamine Yamal and possibly a few others. But if Alexis Sanchez was in this era of football right now with his Arsenal form, that's a Ballon d'Or contender right there, you know. And I don't care who says anything. That's a definite for me. Guys, come on. There's 6 of you in there. 13 likes. If you haven't smashed that like button, make sure you do. And then make sure you subscribe to my channel as well at GavGoesIn. Big up yourselves. Guys, I'm only 20 away from what we on? From 1,100. So yeah, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to my channel. So 20 away from 1,000, from 1,100. So big up, man. Yeah, I mean, DXR, bro, listen, I didn't forget about Sanchez because I had the privilege of watching Sanchez when he was in his prime. If you remember, he was at Udinese. And at Udinese, you know, this was a player that was being talked about as being a future, you know, World Player of the Year. Because at Udinese, you know, he played in the 10 at Udinese. He was playing with... he was in the team at the time. I think it might have been Luis Muriel. I think it might have been. And he was playing just off the striker. And he was dangerous in that Italian league. And he was talked about going to likes of Barcelona and to other top teams. So I've had the privilege of seeing Alexis Sanchez at Udinese, at Barcelona, at Arsenal. Man United is when his career dropped off. And obviously going to Inter Milan as well. But yeah, I can say that I've watched Alexis Sanchez and know how good he was, because when he was coming through at Barcelona, he was one of my favourite players. You know, his acceleration was an absolute joke. On Pro Evo, he used to be one of the first players I would buy. And because his acceleration, his finishing was just deadly, you know. So yeah, I mean him dropping off, you know, you could see his drop off was happening. I think towards the end of his career at Arsenal, you could tell that he wasn't the same player. And then Man United confirmed it. So, but yeah, from what I've seen of Alexis Sanchez, you know, as I said, I can testament that he was a very good player. You know what I mean? Sham says Pro Evo. Listen, Pro Evo was my game, Sham. If anyone knows about Pro Evolution and you're in this chat, I'll tell you a few names, and let's see where you get this from. So who remembers a player called Castello, Miranda, Birchall, Ivanov? So Ivanov, Birchall, Castello, Miranda. If anyone knows, man, where them names from? DXR says, I was also watching Ozil assists at Madrid on YouTube. Yeah, listen, the way the disrespect that Ozil gets for me is ridiculous, because Mesut Ozil for me was just a pure technician. And again, in this era of football now, Mesut Ozil would get criticised because he's not a workhorse, you know. And the thing is with Mesut Ozil, he was just a pure footballer, you know, and him and Sanchez at Arsenal together, you know, what a combination that was, man. They were literally single-handedly, you know, with Aubameyang as well, just getting Arsenal over the line, you know, those three players there. So, but yeah, Ozil was a great player. But again, if anyone remembers, Ozil didn't want to leave Real Madrid. But with Sham, I'll get back to you in a minute, man. In a minute. But you're wrong. But I know what Miranda you're talking about, but that's not what I meant. But I'll get back onto it in a minute, man. So yeah, as I said, Ozil didn't want to leave Real Madrid. But what Real Madrid do, you know, when they see the next big star, they try and get their hands on them, you know, and the history's there. So they got rid of Ozil because James Rodriguez was coming through. Because if you remember, James Rodriguez, I think he might have got player of the tournament at the World Cup. And then they moved on Ozil, and then Rodriguez coming straight after. And then if you look at now, for instance, now is a prime example. You know, they've got Arda Güler, you know, who should be, you know, the future for them as an attacking midfielder and be playing for me. And the problem is now they've signed Franco Mastantuono, who plays in the direct same position as Arda Güler. So for me, the way that I'm looking at it, I see Arda Güler moving on because Mastantuono is only 17 and he's left-footed and offers the same kind of threat that Arda Güler would offer, which is telling me that they're going to flip Arda Güler for money. And then you look at, you know, they've agreed a deal as well for 16-year-old Azadine Uazani. Again, guys, make sure you check my my next gen 50. You know, I've done streams on both of those players. So, and it's funny how Real Madrid now have signed both players after me doing a stream, which is coincidental. So if you look at Mastantuono and Azadine Uazani, they're two players that play attacking midfield. You know, Uazani for me is been likened to Zidane, right-footed. You know, elegance of Zidane, and Mastantuono is basically Arda Güler as well. He's the same player as Arda Güler. So I think they're gonna flip Arda Güler for money, and they'll get good money for him as well. And Mastantuono 17, you know, Uazani 16. They're gonna be looking at them as the future attacking midfielders for their team. So, you know, it's crazy, man. But yeah, Sham. When I said Miranda, Birchall, Castello, and Ivanov, if you remember, on Pro Evo, there was Master League, and if you do Master League with a custom team, those were the players you used. You know, you had Birchall's pace, Castello was the goal scorer, Miranda was the number 10. And Ivanov was the goalkeeper. So so yeah, man. If you remember Pro Evo Master League, that's where the names come from. DXR says, like making Arda the main guy through the middle. Listen, Arda Güler should be starting. He should be playing as the 10. Where they're playing Bellingham is where Arda Güler should be playing. And as I said, the only reason why Bellingham's playing ahead of Arda Güler is because of Bellingham's profile. Because Bellingham's status in the game is bigger than Güler's, this is why he's playing there. But Güler should be playing the 10. He's a natural number 10. And as a footballer, he's better. But because of Bellingham's name, you know what I mean, it's just overshadowing Arda Güler, unfortunately. But the thing is as well is that this, as I say, this system change that Xabi Alonso could do, Arda Güler is prime for this system change to if they play three at the back, because he can play right side of a front three, you know, being left-footed, inverted as well. Rodrigo, again, where does he stand in this new formation? Because if they change the formation, you know, unless you're going to play Rodrigo as part of the front three, which means how you're going to fit in Bainham if you want to play him, and Güler, I see Rodrigo moving on. And if you play Bainham in that team, the only place Bainham can probably play in that system is part of a front three, but he's a natural playing there. So, yeah, Real Madrid have got problems there, man, definitely. Because I believe either Arda Güler or Rodrigo might move on if there's a system change, you know. So, yeah. Big up to Saeed Ahmad. Big up. I thought Miranda, the Barca left back. No, not him. Even though he's a former left back for Barcelona, I'm talking about Master League. So if you've ever played Pro Evolution, there was a Master League on there, and this is probably for some of the 80s, 90s heads. If you played Master League on Pro Evo and you played with a custom team, there was players there called Castello, Miranda, even of the goalkeeper, and Birchall. They were players that were part of the custom team. And obviously how it worked is that you played a season with those players, and it's about winning games, getting money to then buy better players to then get rid of, obviously, the custom players. But the custom players you started off with, those 4 players that I just named, you know, they were 4 of the better players in the team, because Ivanov was in goal. Birchall actually starts on the bench, but he was a quick winger that you would use on the left wing. Then you had Castello, who was the striker, and then you had Miranda, who played number 10. And those were 4 of the best players. So, but yeah, if you're an 80s or 90s head, then you'll know what I'm talking about. But big up, man, big up. Does anyone still do gaming? I think gaming's still about. Funny enough, actually, I haven't played my PS5 for ages, for like months now. Yeah, Sham, listen, man. Yeah, listen, I don't forget nothing when it comes to football, man. So one of you mentioned Adriano as well. Again, I've touched on Adriano before. I can't remember what FIFA it was, but again, some of you probably heard me say this already. But there was one FIFA where Adriano and Ibrahimovic were both at Inter Milan, and they had Dejan Stankovic, I think, as a number 10. And Stankovic could pop shots and pass from anywhere. But you had literally the left-footed and right-footed version of they were clones, Adriano and Ibra. They were both the strongest players on the game. They both had the best shot power in the game and shot technique, and both dominant in the air as well. Like, they were literally clones. One was left-footed, one was right-footed. And if you get to any position on the pitch and hit a shot, it's going in. So, yeah, I can't remember what pro it was, but those 2 were unstoppable on the game, you know. Yeah, listen, Sham, man, Adriano for me was... I'll tell you how highly I rated Adriano. Is that my best ever player, best ever striker is R9. Adriano for me could have emulated what R9 was if he stayed on track. That's how good he was. You know, he was physically imposing. You know, he was technical. He was strong as anything. He had pace. His left foot was just an absolute joke. You know, he was aggressive as well, but in a good way. Like, he was just unplayable, Adriano. And the thing is as well, I used to play Football Manager. Obviously, back then it was called Champ Manager. And the first thing I used to do when I was Man United was just sign Adriano, put number 10 on his back, you know, and he was hitting 40, 50 goals a season, easy. Every season, he was like 40 or 50 goals a season in all comps, easily, you know. And that was minimum, by the way. That was minimum. That wasn't even maximum. Like, I think one season he must have hit about 70 for me in all comps, maybe more. But he was that good in the game, you know. It was a no-brainer, man, just sign him, you know. So DXR says, was it mindset or just emotional pain that he couldn't recover from due to his dad's situation? So big up DXR. So basically with Adriano, what happened, as Some of you probably won't be aware. And again, if you haven't smashed that like button, make sure you do. We're on 14 likes. Let's try and get to 15. So with Adriano, as you know, his dad passed away. And what happened with Adriano is that growing up, obviously, in Brazil, in the favelas, you know, if anyone's heard of the favelas, it's basically the slums in Brazil. You know, it's like drug dealing, prostitution, you name it, you know, and getting out of the favelas is basically it's near enough impossible unless you've got, you know, a career in football, you know, or you become some sort of, I don't know, politician or something like that. You're gonna be stuck in the favelas because it's just the slums of Brazil. And Adriano, I believe, come from the favelas. And I think the last I heard of Adriano is that when his dad passed away, he ended up getting back involved with gangs, you know, and just doing drug dealing and stuff like that. He went off the rails, unfortunately, for Adriano. And it's a shame, man, because I remember watching a documentary on it. And yeah, man, his career just went from the top to the complete bottom. And I think that was the fact that his dad passed away. And I think his dad passed away from, I think it was either alcohol or Adriano turned to alcohol or something like that because of his dad passing away. But yeah, man, listen, it was devastating really when that happened to him, Adriano, because as I said, you know, this was a striker for me that only R9 surpassed him for me, and I think he could have emulated R9. He was that good, you know. And yeah, he went off the rails, man, and wasn't the same. So yeah, I'm not even sure what he's doing now, but last I heard, he was, as I said, in the favelas, running around with gangs, doing drugs, you know, with guns. That's what I heard, which, you know, is mad. But what a player, man. I mean, if anyone remembers what he done against Valencia when he done the Maradona turn through the guy's legs. And I believe it might have been that game as well where someone tried to slap him on the head or something like that. And he just, all you see is Adriano get his two hands out like that and just push it into the guy and got sent off for it. But yeah, man, he had literally, there was no weakness to his game. No weakness. And this was a guy as well that was co-owned for, I think, 2 years. So I think he was at Inter Milan, but back in them days in Italian football, they used to do co-ownership. So he was co-owned by both Fiorentina and Parma. So he went to Fiorentina and Parma as a co-owned from Inter Milan until Inter Milan brought him back. And listen, he was he was an absolute problem. I'm telling you, man, absolute problem. So Sham says, I used to always buy Torres as a young player from Atletico on CM. Yeah, listen, man. Listen, Championship manager, man. There was always players you go to. You know, mine was Adriano. The Fernando Torres one, yep. I used to always get Adriano or Sergio Aguero. Because if you remember Sergio Aguero, he used to be at Independiente in Argentina. And he was 16 at the time because he made his debut for Independiente at 15. And he was an absolute steal in the game. I think you can get him for free because he wasn't on a pro contract at Independiente. So it used to be Adriano and Aguero for me. And I used to play Aguero in the 10 and Adriano was a striker. And let me tell you now, it was great times, man. It was a problem for anyone who I played in that game. DXR says, I feel like now the way money is tied up to players' brand contracts, players must get crazy mental health support. The clubs like clubs would be fully focused if a player was going through something. Do you know what, DXR? It's good that you've come out with that, because if I tell you a little story about myself, you know, in terms of what the support that these players get now, you know, back when I was playing, it was nothing like that, you know, because obviously I probably told you guys before, you know, obviously I had a career in football, you know, in the academy. So I played for Chelsea for 7 years and played for Tottenham for 3 years. And when I got released from Tottenham, you know, there was no sort of aftercare from those clubs in terms of, you know, finding you somewhere, or, you know, making sure you've got your education sorted out because we've released you. there was nothing about that. It was you left to your own devices and you kind of just find your own path, you know. And I remember, you know, watching a documentary where I think it was Mason Greenwood, one of his good friends from Man City, actually ended up committing suicide because he got released from Man City and, you know, he couldn't take it. And you know, the funny thing is, I fully understand where he's coming from, because when you've been at pro clubs your whole life and then you don't make it, they release you and there's no sort of fallback option. You know, it's more of a case of what are you going to do? And sometimes it just might get on top of you, you know, and I fully understand that, because there's been times where I've been in that kind of situation, you know. But I think the difference with me, you know, I'm stronger mentally, I would say, and I look at things now where, you know, there is light at the end of the tunnel where I can do other things like what I'm doing now. But as I said, man, yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy. But I would say now there's more protection for these players now than there was when I was playing, 100%. You know, because as I said, the kind of protection, the kind of, you know, support that I got back then was non-existent in comparison to what they're getting now, you know. So yeah, I mean, in terms of the mental health support and stuff like that, as I said, it's there for them players now. But when I was playing, there wasn't, man. There was nothing, you know, and it was more of a case of, you know, you got to kind of fend for yourself and figure it out. You know, and as I said, if there's any players out there, you know, that that are struggling mentally because, you know, you're getting released from football clubs, you're not sure what you're going to do, then, as I say, the support is there now in comparison to what it was when I was playing. So that's what I will say, man. But yeah, big up for the question, man. So Saeed says you should play Red Dead Redemption. Yeah, I've played it and I've clocked it, man. What a game that was. Red Dead Redemption 2, man. What a game that was. Hopefully there's another one coming out, man. The funny thing about that game is that I thought I wouldn't like that game because it's about cowboys and stuff like that. And when you look at the front of the cover, I just thought, knowing what games that I like, I thought I wouldn't like that kind of game. But to be honest with you, Red Dead Redemption, what a game that is. One of the best games I've played. It's basically like a GTA, but it's a cowboy kind of thing. So yeah, if you guys haven't played Red Dead Redemption, yeah, make sure you play that game, man. What a sick game that is. Hopefully another one comes out. But yeah, GTA 6, 2026. I'll be waiting for that one. Sham says Palmer. Yeah, listen. Yeah, obviously Deja and Kulusevski come from Parma as well. But yeah, Adriano was co-owned by both Parma and Fiorentina before he started making his name at Inter Milan. And as I said, he was devastating, man. To be fair, he was devastating at all three clubs, which is why Inter brought him back. But yeah, he was co-owned, but they don't do co-own no more in Italy. Zanetti was his captain. Yeah, he was. So DXR says, I was watching a BBC documentary, players now are getting support. Yeah, listen, as I said to you, man, the support in comparison, the support now is a lot different to when I was playing, as I said, because, you know, there's a lot more chance as well for players to become professionals. There's a lot more opportunities. When I was playing, it wasn't like that. It was nowhere near it. You know, it's like if you're a player that they like, they'll look after you. If you're someone they ain't too sure about, they'll make it blatantly obvious. And as I said, when they release you, you know, obviously I won't go into the full story now, but you can ask me. But when they release you, you know, it's more of a case where they're washing their hands with you, really, and you got to kind of find your own path. And again, there wasn't too many opportunities like there is now. So yeah, it's mad. So yeah, the documentary I'm talking about where the guy committed suicide, he was a Man City youth player. I can't remember his name, but he was good friends with Mason Greenwood growing up. So, bro, pressure is mad. I kind of get why they get paid crazy money. No, listen, the money's nothing to do with the pressure. It's not. I mean, the pressure comes with it, because if you're a professional footballer and you're getting paid massive money, the pressure's automatic. They get paid mad money because of the sponsorships, because of the TV rights. That's why there's mad money in football, and it's only going to go up. But in terms of why the pressure's there, and that's why they get paid mad money. No, that ain't nothing to do with it. The money, the pressure's gonna be there regardless. The money they get paid is because of the TV rights and the sponsorships, all that kind of stuff. So you know that Cecil guy from AFTV, he was ex-pro as well. I'm not sure that is Cecil. I'm not sure that is, to be fair. But yeah, no, listen. Like I think from people that I watched, the only one that's had a similar career to me in football is Rance. I think Rance was from what I remember him saying. I think he played for Fulham and I think Brentford. And as I said, I think we might be around a similar age. But yeah, the only person that's had a similar career to me in terms of football wise that I know on YouTube is someone like Rance in terms of playing for professional academies and stuff like that. So, you know, so I've had loads of experiences, man, in football like that, really. But and he came out with a documentary too. When he got released, he was suicidal. If you tell me the name, then it might be the same person. The footballers who don't invest their money and live a lavish lifestyle now, once their money runs out, they're the ones who go into depression. Yeah, listen, man, but they've got all financial advisors and all this other agents and that around them, so they shouldn't be making those mistakes. As I said, a lot of this wasn't there back in the day, so there's less opportunity for that to happen, in my opinion. You know, football is a short career. This is why, you know, like if you're someone like Arda Güler, prime example, Arda Güler is what, 19, 20? You know, he can't afford to sit on the bench for another season for me, because by the time he knows it, he'll be mid-20s, you know, and when you're in the mid-20s, if you haven't found your place at a side, you know, before you know it, you're 30. So this is why someone like him, for me, he's too good to be on the bench and he needs to be playing for someone. And there's plenty of teams that can do with an Arda Güler. So, yeah, man. Yeah, listen, I've played I played number 2, Red Dead Redemption. I don't think I played number 1, but number 2 was sick. Saeed. So DXR says, I think footballers now are very smart. They all have financial advisors, etc. Information is easily available now, but Sham, you are 1000% right. Investment is key for sustainable income. Yeah, listen, man. I mean, look at someone like, I don't know if anyone remembers Mathieu Flamini. I can't remember what Flamini used to be at Arsenal and Marseille, I believe, as well. I think Flamini is, I can't remember what he is, but he's making mad money. I think he's doing something like crypto or something like that, or he's doing something along the lines. If you guys get a chance, check out Mathieu Flamini, ex-Arsenal midfielder. He's a billionaire, exactly. Yeah, he's in some bio company, exactly. Yeah, so there you go, man. He's a prime example. You know, wasn't a great footballer, but had his eyes on the prize, man. And the guy's a billionaire now. So yeah, there you go. There you go, man. So if you have played Red Dead Redemption, Undead Nightmare is a horror game. I've not heard of Undead. Have I heard of that? I think I've played a game called Evil Within. I haven't played Undead, but Evil Within might be quite similar to that. No one is like the sequel to Red Dead Redemption 2. It has John Marston as the main character, and he became Jack later. Okay. So what you're saying then, Saeed? I should have played number 1 before number 2. Then is it basically the carry on from that? Because number 2 was sick, man. I ain't gonna lie. So it is a downloadable extension of the first Red Dead Redemption 1. The Undead Nightmare, just about zombies horror spin-off. Guys, if you like games with the horror with if you like games that have zombies and stuff like that, try a game called Days Gone. It's called Days Gone. So the front cover is a guy on a bike. Sick game. It's a sick game, man. Days Gone, it's called. Give me a thumbs up if you played Days Gone. Sick game, man. Sick game. Let's see if anyone's played Days Gone. Give me a thumbs up if you played Days Gone. So, also, the ex-Barca striker is making money. Oh, yeah, Martin Braithwaite, yeah. Invested big in properties with a family member. I didn't even know that. But, yeah, a lot of footballers are doing this, man. So, it's not really a surprise, you know. And so they should. Because, as I said, it's a short game. Listen, guys, if you get a chance, man, play Days Gone. If you like games like The Undead and games similar like that, play Days Gone. It's a ridiculous game, man. You know, I come across it by chance and I played it. And again, I won't spoil it for you, man, but you've got to play it. It's a sick game. Absolutely sick game. Days Gone. So the front cover is a guy that looks like a hippie, you know, with some baseball cap on the back, and he's on a bike. So yeah, if you get a chance, man, play that. So is Undead Nightmare, you are John Marston and you have to save America and Mexico from the zombies. Okay. Undead Nightmare. I might check that out. But again, I've not played PS5 for about 6 months. I haven't played it for 6 months. So I've got a couple of games that I need to... I've got a clock, to be fair. You know, Final Fantasy, Rebirth. What else is there? There's another one as well, I forgot. But yeah, I haven't played it for about 6 months. So yeah, maybe I'll get back onto it, man. Obviously, summer's here. You know, I might get back onto it. But guys, listen up. Big up yourselves for coming on. You know, been going for almost an hour and a half. But yeah, no, I appreciate you guys coming through. Obviously, 15 likes, which is decent. Last question before we wrap. Gav, you should consider creating gaming stream channels because FIFA streaming is popular. Yeah, do you know what? I was thinking that, man, but I don't really... I mean, I'm trying to build this channel, man, so I ain't really got time to play FIFA at the moment, to be honest with you. I've got FIFA, you know. I never thought I'd be going back to FIFA after playing Pro Evo, but Pro Evo's done out here now, so... but yeah, man, I mean, I haven't really got time to play FIFA, to be honest with you, man, but I see a lot of the YouTubers playing FIFA, to be fair, so... It is something that is popular, but yeah, at the moment, I'm just trying to grow my channel, you know, trying to stream as often as I can. As I said, I like talking about football with you guys, which I enjoy. So I'm just focusing on that for the time being. But who knows, man? Maybe when I grow, you know, I might think about doing that, you know. But at the moment, I think I'm a bit busy with stuff. Yeah, exactly, DXO, man. Yeah, when I grow further, I might look at that, have a separate channel for sure. Yeah, maybe. But yeah, man. Guys, I'm off on holiday on Thursday, so I will be live possibly tomorrow. I'm not sure what time, but I'm on holiday from Thursday, so I'll be streaming from a different location. So yeah, make sure you guys are definitely coming back in as well. So yeah, it's gonna be a nicer, hotter climate. So yeah, man, make sure you guys are back in. And as Sham said, yeah, Jonas is on tomorrow. So guys, if any of you was looking forward to that stream with myself and Jonas, apologies for that. You know, I tried doing it through my phone. First time doing a co-stream through my phone, because I normally do it through StreamYard. And obviously you guys were telling me that it was freezing. So we've organised one for tomorrow at 6 o'clock. So yeah, make sure you keep an eye on the schedule there and make sure your notifications are on. So yeah, me and Jonas will be live tomorrow at 6 o'clock. So yeah, make sure you guys come through and give us your support. And again, make sure, guys, you smash that like button, subscribe to my channel. Big up yourselves for coming on. And I'm going to catch you guys tomorrow. Take it easy.